I hope I'm saying this. Microphone is huge. CEA in the house. Oh my gosh, we better go look at that again. 1 second. Here we go. Hey, what's up, everybody? Isaac here, Civil Engineering Academy. I'm excited today. I bring on Ed Quesenberry. He is a structural engineer, and he runs his own company called Equilibrium. You got to check it out. And we talk all things structural engineering. If you're diving into structural engineering, maybe some things that he wishes he would have known when he started out, and really also how to start a business and some of the challenges he personally had in starting a business. And if you are willing to start a business, what challenges you may have as well. So I thought it was a fascinating episode. We interviewed Ed. Ed knows Dirk Bondi, who is in another episode. So they're good friends as well. So it was just kind of a fun conversation all around. So I think you're really going to enjoy this episode. If you haven't liked this or subscribed to our podcast, please do so. Leave a comment and share it with a friend, because sharing is caring. And if you need help on your journey to become a professional engineer, definitely give us a check out at civilengineeringacademy.com, where we help engineers pass their FE or their PE on this fun journey of becoming a professional engineer. So it's good stuff. I hope you really do enjoy this. Give Ed a thank you if you find him on LinkedIn or whatnot. And it's all coming up right after this. All right, Ed, thank you for jumping on to the Civil Engineering Academy podcast. I'm excited that you've joined us today.
Yeah, me too. Glad to be here.
Yeah, this is good stuff. We love spreading the word. So, Ed, I guess as we start this journey, why don't you give us a little background as how you found yourself into the world of civil engineering and into structural engineering? How did we end up there?
Yeah, it was. Uh, I I attribute it mainly to my drafting teacher in high school. So
Wow.
I'm pretty old. So I'm pretty old. So back when I was in high school, they offered hand drafting, and I took 4 years of it as an elective, and I really liked it. It was great. Um, Being there with my buddies, and we rode through the program. Um, and the teacher, same teacher all 4 years, and he took us through kind of basic mechanical drafting to three-dimensional drafting to kind of really the beginnings of architectural design. Like my senior year, we got to design a house and draw up the plans and such. That
That's
was
fun.
our pride, yeah. And so he was really great that way. And in my senior year, he came to me and was just like, "Hey, what are you thinking for college? What are you going to do?" And I was like, "I don't really know, and I'm really decided." And he handed me the course catalog book back in the day when there used to be course catalogs published by
Mm-hmm.
universities. He gave me the one for Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo, California, and and he had a little earmark on one of the pages, and it was the architectural engineering program. I read the description and I was just like, wow, that seems like
That's
something
it.
that I would be good at. It's a combination of architecture and design and engineering, and I was kind of good at those things, and it's kind of what spoke to me. So I applied, I got in, amazingly enough, and
And that was at Cal Poly.
Cal Poly, yeah, in the RE program, architectural engineering, and which is the way that program is structured is the first 2 years you're in classes with architecture students. So
Oh,
you're doing all the introduction to architectural design. So you have 3 or 4 courses of different levels of architectural design and architecture history, that type of thing, graphics, rendering, all that. And
oh,
then after that 2 years is done, you go move into pretty much exclusively structural focused curriculum. So statics, strength of materials, all the building material designs, that kind of thing. So
makes
it was
sense.
really a super building building design focus program, and focused primarily on structural engineering. So I didn't go the traditional route through a civil engineering undergrad.
Hmm.
So my undergrad degree is in architectural engineering.
Really? That's interesting. So, were you classmates with Dirk Bondi then? Because he's been on the show once.
Yeah, yeah, I was. I had many classes with Dirk, um,
That's hilarious.
many study sessions with Dirk. Uh, I got lots of story. I could
Lots
spend
of
the rest
dirt
of the
on dirt.
podcast telling
Just kidding.
telling Dirk stories if you want me to, but
No,
no,
no, no.
no, he's a really good guy. And actually, what's really cool about that, and I'm sure others feel this way about their college experience, but that Archie program, I'm still in touch with many of my classmates, that have spread around the states practicing in different areas. And I use them as a real resource group for if I run into technical problems that I don't quite know how to solve or whatever. Dirk's the guy, if I have
Hmm.
a question on post tensioning, I call
You're
Dirk.
giving him a
And
call.
yeah, and he's always there, ready to answer a question and give me some advice. But
Well,
that
I guess.
network you build in college, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree with you. And maybe that's a point to take away for those listening. If you're still in college, the people that you know there, those relationships are definitely going to last a long time. Even if you don't work directly with each other, you'll remember that you had a class with each other, and you'll kind of find each. It's easier than ever to find each other with LinkedIn and such, and probably even
Yeah,
easier now to reach out. So
yeah, and you're kind of on the same career path, right? You're progressing through your career at the same time frame as they are, and so you have all these shared experiences that you can,
makes
um,
sense.
um, tell and share. So it's pretty cool.
I love it. Well, let's fast forward to today. You're running Equilibrium Engineers.
Mhm.
How did how did we go from, just working out with different firms to wanting to run Equilibrium Engineers and starting that? That sounds like a major lift to even get off the ground. I imagine
Mhm.
it's a struggle to do that. What was the mindset to do that, and was it difficult?
Yeah. So my path to started kind of working for a mid-sized firm in California after graduation. Um, had great mentors there. Learned, kind of. I would say that's where I honed my technical skills.
Hmm.
Everything I didn't learn in college, I was taught there. Really learned kind of the technical side of engineering. Um, and then family kind of took over. I got married, we had our first kid, and we're like we had to find a place that was maybe more conducive to raising a family than California was for us at that time, and so we moved to Oregon. um, and I went to work for a large firm in Portland, and that was very very corporate, offices in multiple cities.
Doing the same thing, or
Yes, structural engineering consulting. Mhm.
okay.
Same thing. I should say I came there to the firm in Portland with my PE license, so I had taken that, um, in California when I was there, and then after working there for a year, I passed my SE exam.
Great.
So I worked for about 9.5, 10 years for the corporate firm, and I just reached a point where it was that I felt like my path was forked. I could either spend the rest of my career at this corporate firm,
Mhm.
um, doing great work and with great people, or I could venture out on my own, and which is something that was always in the back of my mind, wanting to have my own engineering family.
That's
Um,
great.
and so then I just was talking about it so much and hemming and hawing so much. My wife finally got fed up with me, and she said, "Look, just do it. Pull the trigger. Just go out on your own. And what's the worst that could happen? You can always, if it doesn't work out, you can go
Jump
back and
back
work.
in.
Yeah, just don't burn the bridge and go. You can go back there." And so um, I did it, and it's just been really, I've been very fortunate. I have some clients that I've worked with for years that set me up with projects right away.
Wow. And
So
that's been almost 20 years now, I believe, right?
yeah, it's hard to believe that it's that much time has elapsed. It's been since 2003. Um, so yeah, it started out as just me, and I had a CAD, a BIM modeler on contract that did all the drawings. So I did all the engineering, and he did all the drawing prep. And then we've just kind of grown organically since then, and to where we are now, which we have 6 full-time people.
That's
And
great.
so,
Well,
it's been a really good road. It's been fun. It hasn't always been easy. You asked about challenges.
yes. Yes.
Um,
'Cause I asked that because I believe that there are probably people listening to this show that want to start their own
mhm,
company. They may
yeah,
be in the same shoes you were, wondering if, if I should do it or not. So, I'm trying to help them maybe see what might be coming. So, what
yeah.
challenges have you seen?
Well, one of the I can't the biggest challenge for me, working for a big firm like I did before I went out on my own, I was exposed to some really kind of world class projects, big projects,
Any
high
any
budget projects.
favorites? Any standouts?
um, yeah, there's we did this really cool library here in the Portland metro area. It's called
Hmm,
the Beaverton Library. You can look at it, look it up online. Um,
we'll leave a link
it,
to it.
it was kind of this really high architectural design space where we used glue laminated wood construction in a
Oh,
very
yeah.
interesting way. And actually, that project ended up being a photograph of that wood structure that I worked on, ended up being on the cover of the wood design textbook
Wow.
that is used in many civil engineering programs now. So
That's great.
it's pretty cool, really rewarding. Um, so going from that to, I knew that there was no way I was going to land projects like that
Sure.
on my own, at least initially. So that was kind of one of the biggest hurdles was just, um, I knew I could do projects like that of that size, of that magnitude. I could do it just fine. But it was convincing my clients that I could do it, that it wasn't a risky proposition hiring me at Equilibrium, my one man shop, to do a big building. So
Yeah,
it took some time to build that trust, and to prove myself all over again, essentially. Um, and
that makes sense.
so that was the biggest hurdle. Did a lot of small, little projects, uh, which was fine, but we are now 20 years in, and we're doing big work, and still have a fair chunk of the small stuff too. Um, but other
Building trust was definitely the
yes, building
biggest,
trust.
the hardest thing to do. So,
Yeah,
because once
yeah,
trust is developed, then hopefully that you've got some work coming in, someone's gonna use you
yeah,
again, things of that nature. Okay,
yeah.
definitely makes sense.
It's maybe building trust, or just transferring that trust. Right? They trusted me when I was at the big firm, but I had all that horsepower behind me of the big firm, and
Yep,
it's just transferring that over when you're on your own. Can you still meet the deadlines? Can you really handle this big of a project? So there was some proving to do,
that
which
makes
we were
sense.
able to do. So um, yeah, so
Well,
that was probably the biggest hurdle we've had to overcome, and to some extent we still deal with that. The perception of a small firm um, is something sometimes difficult to get over. People,
right.
certain clients just won't take that leap and say, okay, we're going to give this project to a 6-person shop. It's just they don't feel comfortable with that.
Yeah, they
So
probably want you to have a ton of people working and big insurance
mhm,
policies and all that
yeah,
jazz,
And it's
Probably.
that whole thing is like, oh, well, what's your resume for this type of work? And you show them and they're like, well, you don't have in equilibrium, you don't have any big projects on your resume. So
Uh,
why would we get it? So it's like that chicken and egg thing. It's like you got to get the big project to put it on your resume, but you can't get it without having it on your resume.
yeah, it
So
makes sense.
but yeah, it's been a journey. It's been great.
That's good.
And it's been pretty fulfilling. So
Well, one of the things that I hear a lot is that maybe that structural engineering maybe isn't the highest paying field for engineers to dive into if they're going into the civil arena. What advice would you have for someone that is that is thinking that way or is hearing those kinds of things?
yeah, I struggle with that a little bit. It's if you're only in a career for money,
Hmm. Probably not the best
you're
move.
probably not going to be very happy no matter what you choose. So, I mean, if that's your sole criteria is money, then
Makes
that's a
sense.
problem. For me, I know from experience, I know plenty of structural engineers that do very well financially, um, and uh, are they rock stars? Are they raking in millions and millions of dollars a year? Probably not, but they're making a good living. And the thing for me with structural engineering, in terms of the reward, is just that tangibility of your work. Like you
Hmm.
can go out, walk down the street, and point to a building and say, "Hey, I did that." And I made that building safe. That building is going to be standing. Hopefully, if I did everything right, that building is going to be standing long after I'm gone. So that to me is worth more than you know
A bunch of money.
thousands of dollars, right?
Yeah.
So I will say, it is uh, it is you know
It's very competitive.
yeah, all civil engineering is, it's not extremely lucrative. It just isn't. But I think everyone, if you ask people, what they love most about being in civil engineering, it's probably that you're helping to build communities, safe communities. You're making a difference, tangible difference. So
Yeah, I really don't know another industry that affects humanity like more than civil engineers. I mean, everything that everybody uses that they usually don't recognize, civil engineers have built, constructed, even to the water that we drink to make sure that's clean. So, yeah, you want to have a big impact on humanity. I think civil engineering is a great way to go. I guess I want to touch on that. A little bit more because I think also one of the problems with the industry is like you don't have celebrities talking about civil engineers and the stuff that we do. Like that's just not they just don't do that. And maybe it would make this field look more attractive. But I also think some of the maybe the inherent problems with the industry as a whole is that a lot of times, when you're bidding on projects, sometimes that's a drive to the bottom, and sometimes clients don't recognize quality versus pricing. Sometimes they want low bid, and off they go. And so sometimes it's a little bit tied to those things as well. Is that what's been your experience, I guess, with that and the industry as a whole with terms of bidding on projects?
well, I think it's all about the value proposition, right?
Hmm.
If clients perceive value in what you are bringing to the table, they will pay for that. They will pay whatever you want for that.
Yep.
It's when they don't see the value that's when we struggle, right? And so, we have some clients that value good structural engineering. They want they want competent structural engineering professionals on their projects because they know it makes a difference. It makes a difference to the integrity of the building. It makes a difference to the budget of the construction, all of that. So, but there are others that it is that kind of, well, how low can you go on your fee?
Right.
Um, so That's just, I think that's just human nature. A lot of that is, but I think as a profession, civil engineers, we don't do a great job of selling the value of what we do.
That is probably very true.
We're we're very good at talking to ourselves about it, like, oh yeah, I did this great thing. Check this thing out. We're tell the
That's
stories to
true.
ourselves, and we like pat ourselves on the back, but we don't go to our neighbor across the street and say, hey, look, this is what I do, and this is why
Yeah,
it's important, right? And tell our story. And I think we need, as a profession, need to get better at telling our story, making it sexy, making people see the value in what we do. Uh,
I
and
agree. And hopefully, through podcasting, things of this nature, just getting the word out about what's out there, people start seeing a little bit more the value that is brought to the table from those in the industry and what they're doing. So
yeah,
I think it's
social media is a powerful platform to do that.
yep.
I would totally agree.
So Ed, I know you used to teach as an adjunct professor, and were you running this business at the same time as that? And how did
Yeah.
you balance? How do you still balance? How do you balance all those demands running a
Hmm.
business, even when you were teaching? But I'm sure you have family life as well, and all of
Yeah.
that. What tips or advice would you have for balancing all of those things?
Boy, there's like four questions in there. Let me unpack that a little bit. First, I had the opportunity a few years ago to essentially create a course for Portland State University. Um, it was mainly out of a conversation I had with the department head at a
Mm,
cocktail party or something, and I was like, you know,
you should have this.
you guys are not teaching the building code. You guys are not, you're teaching how to design a steel beam, but you're not teaching the building code. So your graduates are coming out and they don't understand. They
Yeah.
never even looked at the IBC or the anything. They don't even know where to start, and so it's throwing a lot more um, onus on the employer to do that education. And so he had me put my money where my mouth was, and he said, "Okay, I'm going to let you teach a course on building codes, right? So it's whatever you want it to be. I'm going to give you a slot, and it's going to be an undergrad, grad level thing." So,
Wow.
oh boy, that was. You want to talk about um,
Knowing your stuff.
not getting paid? I think I figured out. I think I made about like maybe 15 cents an hour
Oh
um,
no.
on that. Yeah, it was an
Uh,
incredible experience to be able to create a class of a curriculum of what I thought was important to teach. Like, what are you going to need to know on day one of your job, kind of thing,
mhm.
from a structural engineering perspective,
That's
and then
great.
and be able to do that. And I did that for a couple years. And it was a lot of work, like I said, a lot of hours, and at times I kind of regretted, you know, opening my mouth, but I think it was very rewarding for me, and I still run into students that took my class that said, that compliment me about like how much they learned, and so that I making that difference made the time worthwhile for me.
How
Um,
long did you do that?
just 2 years, and
Okay.
then in academia, it's kind of the department head changes, and then the focus of the civil engineering department changes to more environmental focus rather than structural focus. So,
Hmm.
the electives got that my elective essentially got axed. So,
Oh, man.
yeah, which was bittersweet. I'm like, okay, that's all right, but I got that time back in my life. But
Right.
yeah,
So so you're doing that. Oh, let's get to that balance question. How did
yeah.
you balance all that then?
Well, balance is something. It's like that. This thing I'm always striving for, right? I don't ever quite obtain it. This life is just not that way, I don't think. But it's something I always strive for, that balance. That's why I named my company Equilibrium Engineers. It's all about
There you
balance for
go.
me. It's more kind of like the guiding light for our firm. Um, But there are times where we're out of balance. We got too much work, and we got family issues, or we've got kids in school, or whatever it is, pulling you in three, four, or five different directions, and you've got to just um, for me, it's all about figuring out what are the priorities and prioritizing. I'm constantly prioritizing the things that are in front of me. Okay, this is more important than this. This can wait. And I so that's how I manage it and try to get as close to that balance point as I can. But I think it's aspirational.
Makes sense. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think we all wish to have a little more balance in our life, and being able to prioritize stuff is probably one of the greatest challenges
yeah.
we all have. So,
I will say, not to cut you off, but I will say that owning my own business, being the owner of the business, has allowed me to, it may be counterintuitive, but it has allowed me to kind of be able to get closer to that balance point,
hmm,
because I call the shots, right?
mhm,
You know, if I don't think I have the time to take on that project, I'm going to politely say no, I'll pass, that kind of thing. So I have my foot on the brake and the gas, and I can do that. So in
hmm.
that way, um, being a business owner kind of maybe enables me to do that. Whereas if I was working for a firm, I think I may not be able to do that as quite as easily.
Have a choice there. And as a business owner, how does that trickle down then to like those you manage and you have on staff? Is I mean, the name of the company is Equilibrium, so
Yeah.
obviously I think you want balance in your life. So um
Yeah, we try to again go back to the prioritization thing. We meet every week, and we have a calendar of deadlines and hours that we consult and look for problem areas. Like, okay, we've got 60 hours of drafting on the schedule for this week, and we've got whatever 40
crank
that
it
we
out.
that we have access to. So what are we going to do? So we're constantly internally prioritizing. And it's a small office, and the way we have it set up, just kind of, it is open. There are no walls in our office. It's just desks and
Mhm.
file cabinets and such. So we can talk to each other from across the room and whatever. So it's all about communicating, when you see like there's going to be a choke point, or you see one of your fellow employees just totally stressed out and like at the end
Yeah,
of their rope. You can step in and say, okay, hey, let's shuffle things around, let's reprioritize, let's take a few things off your plate, move it to a different person. So we kind of approach it as a team, and try to do that. I mean, it is not perfect. I'm not going to
right.
sit here and tell you that it works great. I still have times where either I'm stressed out beyond belief, or one of my employees is stressed out beyond belief. We have a deadline, and you just crunch time. You just got to gut through it and do it.
Work through it.
But in the long run, I think using that kind of aspirational goal of equilibrium is kind of what how
I
we
think
operate.
that's
So
great. That's great. So I guess another question I have is, as a starting structural engineer, what tips or advice would you have for someone just starting into this world? It sounds like you get to know your codes really well. Um,
yeah.
I mean, to tack on to that, what's the value also of getting your PE and your SE as a
Mhm.
person just starting into this world as well? So maybe those
Yeah.
two things.
Well, I would say licensure is not, at least initially, is not as important as um, just understanding or knowing that you don't know everything, right?
Hmm.
You were College gives you just the basic playbook. Practice is a whole different thing. So it's being acknowledging that you have a lot to learn, and being willing to do what it takes to learn, to continue learning after you get out of college, right?
Hmm.
Um, And to that end, I would say when you're interviewing for jobs, I think you should ask, definitely a question you should ask is, what is the mentorship program look like at this company, right? At the company you're looking at. Um, how does mentorship happen? Um, and try to find something where you are going to be really well supported by seasoned engineers of various levels, um, so that you can learn, and learn by example. And if you have questions, you'll have somebody to go to, that kind of thing. So I think mentoring is huge. So yeah, being receptive to learning, understanding that you still have a lot to learn, not assuming just because you got your degree that you know everything, and then finding some good mentors in your company that you can that think kind of like you. It's in engineering. There's no one solution for every problem, right? There's
Yep.
you give the same problem to 10 engineers, you're going to get 10 different answers. But what you want to do as a young engineer is find older engineers that kind of think like you, that you can communicate well with, that you understand. When they explain something to you, you understand. Um, so
That's great
that's, I think
advice.
that the mentorship is big. The licensure piece, that's definitely, that's, I see that as a goal, right? That
Hmm.
is a career path goal that people have. And in a firm, sure, yeah, PE registration and then SE registration, all those things can help advance your career within your firm. You get more money, more recognition, more responsibility. Sure, that's all great. Um, and if you ever want to go out on your own and have your own practice where you're the principal in charge
You're
on
it.
projects and you're stamping, you have to have your PE and potentially your SE, depending on what kind of work you want to do. So all that's great, but um,
Get the experience,
get the
get the
experience, yeah.
knowledge. That's great. Great
And
advice.
for licensure too, the other thing is when you're a young engineer, it's important to try to get as much exposure to different types of structural design as you can. Hopefully you don't get pigeonholed into designing steel columns all day long,
Right.
or PT slabs all day long, right? Hopefully you'll get exposed to designing all the different building materials, because that's what's really going to help you pass the exam
Makes
and
sense.
further your career. So
Well,
that's really what I
that's
got for you there.
that's great advice for anybody just starting out. So definitely worth listening to, and getting a good mentor is definitely a big thing. I remember when I started, I'm in the utility world doing transmission design, and they brought on a guy back, an older gentleman. I think he was 65, but was coming back to work just to, you know, get some hours or whatnot.
Mhm.
And I thought that was extremely valuable to have someone that could talk about, transmission design with me. And I'm sure that applies to anyone in the civil industry. So I'll definitely find a good mentor. Well, Ed, this has been really fun for me. Thanks for doing this. Is there a resource that you could recommend to the Civil Engineering Academy audience? It could be a blog, a book, something that you find interesting and of value to civil engineers.
Huh? Yeah, you gave me this question earlier, so I managed to. Um,
Ah,
so I'm gonna put it up here, right here.
let's go.
This is the book. It's called
Brunelleschi's Dome.
it's called Brunelleschi's Dome, and it's by Ross King, and it's the story of the construction of the dome on the Duomo in Florence, Italy.
Really?
And I mean, you want to talk? I mean, engineers are problem solvers, and this book is all about problem solving. And actually, Brunelleschi, the guy who came up with the way to build this like first ever of its kind dome, um, he was actually had no engineering background, no architecture background. He was a
Wow.
problem solver. He just understood how things worked, and he figured out how to solve the problem better than anybody else. And And it's just really inspirational for me. I mean, it's pretty heavy on the history, so it's a bit of a dry read, but just the story of this guy in the middle of the Renaissance, when he was surrounded by Da Vinci and
It's crazy.
Michelangelo and other super talented people, he kind of, came up with how to do this. And
That's
so
amazing.
anyway, and I don't if you've ever been to Florence, it's a very impressive structure. The Duomo is just it's amazing space. So
Love
I
it.
don't know. For me, it's got everything. It's got Italy. It's got
Engineering.
structural engineering, problem solving,
That's great.
everything. So
Well, we'll make sure to link that in our show notes when we get there. But I think that's a fascinating book and definitely a marvel to read about. So, and I love that all of us are civil engineers or problem solvers, and I love that people that aren't engineers per se. If you're still solving problems, you're helping the world out. So that's great.
yeah, there was no
Well,
PE back then. He might
yeah,
Brunelleschi might be a PE today.
probably. Well, what's the best way for our audience to connect with you if they have additional questions, maybe about your company or structural engineering?
Mhm.
What's the best way to get a hold of you?
I'm on LinkedIn. Just type in Ed Quesenberry, and I'm there. You can, invite me to link with you. You can visit our website. It's equilibriumllc.com, or, just give me a call.
Sounds
Look me
good.
up on the internet and give me a ring. Or if you're ever in the Portland metro area in Oregon, stop by.
Come by, say hi.
Yeah.
Perfect. Ed, thanks for jumping on and sharing your wisdom with us. I really do appreciate it. And maybe we'll see you in the future.
All right. Take care,
Thank
Isaac.
you.
Bye.
See ya.